Chosen one, pause for a moment. Don't scroll, don't sleep yet. This message didn't arrive by accident, it arrived on assignment. There are moments heaven chooses carefully, and tonight is one of them. Before your body rests, before your thoughts quiet, before tomorrow rearranges the landscape of your life, God drew a line in time and led you here. You didn't find this message found you. You've been carrying questions you don't say out loud, pain you've learned to manage instead of heal, a calling you feel but can't fully explain. There are nights you lie awake, staring into the dark, replaying battles no one saw you fight. You survive things that should have broken you, and yet you wonder why peace still feels just out of reach. Chosen one, heaven has been watching all of it. Every tear, every restraint, every silent victory. And before we go deeper, pause with me for a sacred moment. Hit subscribe and comment Amen if your spirit is already responding, because this message is about to speak directly to you. This isn't a click. It's a declaration that you're present, listening, and willing to receive what God prepared for this exact hour. There is a reason this warning comes before sleep. Night is when defenses fall. Night is when truth settles. God speaks differently when the world goes quiet. What you absorb tonight will follow you into tomorrow, shaping decisions before fear has time to interfere. Tomorrow will be busy, loud, demanding. But tonight is gentle, intentional, investigative. Light is being placed inside shadows so you can see clearly when morning comes. You may feel a tension in your chest right now. Not fear, but recognition. That subtle knowing that something matters more than you realized. That is revelation beginning to breathe. God is not rushing you. He's positioning you. He's saying, hey, listen now, so you don't have to recover later. Chosen one, this is divine validation. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your confusion is not failure. Your waiting has not been wasted. Heaven has been aligning pieces behind the scenes, and this moment is the final adjustment before movement. Tonight seals understanding, tomorrow releases consequence. So stay with me. Lower your guard. Let your spirit lean in, because what is about to be revealed was not meant for the crowd. It was meant for you. Chosen one, tonight is not just another pause between days. It is a threshold. Some moments don't arrive with noise or warning. They arrive with stillness. They don't demand attention. They invite awareness. Tonight carries that kind of weight, a quiet, deliberate sense that something is finishing its work inside you. Not ending with chaos, not closing with regret, but settling gently into its final place. Can you feel it? That subtle calm beneath the surface. The sense that something no longer needs to be carried forward? There are seasons God closes softly, without drama, because the lesson has already done what it came to do. Tonight is not about confrontation, it's about resolution. God allows certain things to settle before rest, so they don't follow you into the next day unfinished. This is mercy, this is protection. He knows that if some thoughts, burdens, or emotional weights crossed into tomorrow with you, they would interfere with what he's preparing next. So tonight he brings closure quietly, like a hand smoothing restless waters before sleep. You may not see a visible change, but something internal is concluding. A question you've wrestled with, a pattern you've outgrown, a fear that once held authority over your decisions. God doesn't always announce endings because awareness isn't required for completion. Sometimes peace arrives first and understanding follows later. Have you noticed how your heart feels less reactive tonight? How the urgency has softened? That's not coincidence. That's alignment. This is not loss, it's completion. Completion of a cycle that served its purpose. Completion of a mindset that once protected you, but no longer belongs in your future. Completion of emotional labor that was never meant to be permanent. God closes chapters gently when he trusts you're ready to walk without rereading them. And tonight, he trusts you. As the world slows and your thoughts begin to quiet, God is sealing what needed to end so tomorrow can begin clean. Not rushed, not burdened, just clear. Why do you think rest comes after creation? Because closure prepares the ground for new life. Sleep is not escape, it's transition. And tonight's rest carries intention. Let yourself release what feels finished. You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to revisit it. Trust that if God allowed it to close quietly, it was never meant to echo loudly in your future. Breathe, receive the calm, let peace do its final work. When you wake tomorrow, you may not remember this moment clearly, but you will move differently. Lighter, more grounded, less pulled backward. That's how divine completion works. It doesn't shout, it settles. So chosen one, rest without fear. What ends tonight does so because it has fulfilled its purpose, and what awaits you next requires the clarity only closure can bring. Chosen one, notice how the world changes when night arrives. The noise fades, the demands loosen their grip, and the constant pull of attention finally releases you. This is not accidental. God designed stillness as a doorway, not an absence. When the day quiets down, the mind softens and the heart begins to listen without resistance. That is why this message finds you now, before sleep, when defenses are lowered and truth can land gently instead of forcefully. Have you ever wondered why clarity often comes late at night when no one else is speaking? God does not shout over chaos. He does not wrestle with distraction. He waits. Stillness is not empty. It is receptive. It is the sacred space where your spirit finally has room to breathe. Throughout the day, your thoughts are busy surviving, responding, adjusting. But tonight, those layers thin. The questions you've been carrying loosen their hold. The tension you didn't even realize you were gripping begins to melt. This is when God speaks most clearly, not because he has just arrived, but because you have finally slowed enough to hear. That's why this message doesn't demand action. It invites awareness. Tonight, clarity is not something you chase or solve. It arrives quietly, like light seeping through closed curtains. God understands that effort has exhausted you. He knows that striving would only cloud what he's trying to reveal. So instead of instructions, he offers peace. Instead of urgency, he offers understanding. Can you feel the difference between pushing for answers and allowing them to surface? Stillness reveals what noise hides. In the quiet, you may suddenly recognize why something hasn't moved yet, or why a door you wanted never opened, or why your heart has been restless without explanation. God speaks to the places you don't analyze, the subtle knowing, the inner alignment, the calm certainty that doesn't need proof. This is not emotional imagination. This is spiritual recognition. It's the moment when your spirit whispers, "This makes sense," even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. Tonight, clarity arrives not through effort, but through quiet awareness. You don't need to replay conversations. You don't need to plan tomorrow. You don't need to fix anything before sleep. God is not asking for performance. He's offering presence. The answers you've been waiting for don't require attention to unlock them. They require trust. Trust that stillness is not delay. Trust that silence is not absence. Trust that God is doing his clearest work when everything else steps back. As you rest, pay attention to what feels settled instead of stirred. Notice which worries lose their urgency. Observe which thoughts no longer demand resolution. That is God gently rearranging your understanding, not with force, but with peace. When you wake, you may not remember every detail of this moment, but you will carry its effect. Decisions will feel lighter. Direction will feel quieter but firmer, and fear will feel less convincing. So, chosen one, don't rush this stillness. Don't fill it, let it speak. God has been waiting patiently for this quiet space, not because he had nothing to say before, but because now you're finally ready to hear. Chosen one, understand this carefully. Not every turning point announces itself with noise or urgency. Some of the most powerful choices are sealed quietly, almost unnoticed in moments like this. Tonight is one of those moments. Nothing dramatic needs to happen on the outside for something permanent to shift within you. God often finalizes direction internally before life reflects it externally. Have you noticed how certain thoughts feel heavier tonight, while others suddenly lose their grip? This is because a choice is being sealed. Not a rushed decision, not a pressured answer, but an inner alignment. Tonight, what you agree with in your spirit matters. What you continue to carry matters. What you finally release matters. God is watching not your actions right now, but your acceptance. Are you willing to let go of the version of yourself that survived so the version meant to build can emerge? Some decisions are not about doing more. They are about allowing less. Less fear, less self-blame, less attachment to what already drained you. Tonight you may find yourself forgiving without effort, understanding without explanation, or accepting a truth you once resisted. That is not weakness. That is maturity. God seals futures through surrender, not struggle. When you stop fighting clarity, clarity stays. You are not being rushed, even if the moment feels significant. Alignment never feels frantic. It feels calm, steady, and unmistakably right. God is not pressuring you into a choice. He is positioning you to agree with what has already been prepared. Think about this. Why does the thought of moving forward feel lighter than the thought of going back? Why does holding on feel heavier than releasing? That is alignment speaking, not emotion. Tonight, your spirit is choosing direction before your mind names it. This is how God protects you from regret. He seals understanding first, so your future steps feel natural instead of forced. When tomorrow arrives, you won't wake up confused. You'll wake up settled. You may not explain why, but you'll know something has shifted. Have you ever experienced that quiet certainty? The kind that doesn't need reassurance? This moment is not about perfection. It's about agreement. Agreement with peace, agreement with growth, agreement with timing that no longer needs to be questioned. God is closing internal debates so external movement can finally begin. What you stop wrestling with tonight won't follow you into the next season. What you accept now won't need revisiting later. And here's the truth, chosen one. Alignment often feels like relief before it feels like excitement. That relief you're sensing is not the end. It's the confirmation. God seals direction gently so you don't resist it. He allows you to rest into the future before you walk into it. Tonight, you are not losing anything valuable. You are releasing what already completed its role. So let the choice settle. Let the understanding land. Let the peace remain. You are not being rushed. You are being aligned. And when alignment happens, movement becomes effortless, and tomorrow unfolds with clarity instead of pressure. Chosen one, understand this truth deeply. Real rest has nothing to do with how tired your body is. True rest arrives when your spirit finally agrees with where God is leading you. That is why sleep has felt restless at times. Not because you were weak, but because alignment was still forming. God never uses sleep as an escape. He uses it as a place of restoration. And restoration only works when the heart is settled. Notice how exhaustion feels different from peace. Exhaustion drains you, but peace fills you. Exhaustion comes from pushing without clarity, while peace comes when direction is clear. Tonight, God is not simply inviting your body to rest. He is inviting your spirit to stop resisting what it already knows. Have you felt that inner tension slowly easing, as if something finally makes sense without explanation? Alignment always comes before deep rest. God wants your thoughts, emotions, and expectations to land in the same place before you close your eyes. When the heart is divided, sleep becomes shallow. But when the heart is aligned, sleep becomes sacred. It heals places you didn't even know were wounded. That is why God brings understanding before rest, so what you carry doesn't follow you into tomorrow. You are not meant to sleep while questioning your worth, your timing, or your future. Tonight, God settles those questions gently, not through answers, but through assurance. The kind of assurance that doesn't argue back. Have you noticed how the need to figure everything out has softened? That is alignment. God removes mental noise so your spirit can breathe again. Rest after alignment is different. It feels safe. It feels held. It feels like permission to stop guarding yourself. God knows how long you've stayed alert, cautious, and prepared for disappointment. But tonight, He stands watch so you don't have to. When alignment happens, vigilance gives way to trust, and trust invites rest that actually restores. This is why God doesn't rush this moment. He waits until your spirit is ready to agree with peace. Sleep becomes healing when the heart no longer resists what is being released. When the heart is settled, the body follows. When the soul exhales, rest deepens naturally. Have you felt that quiet permission to finally stop striving? Chosen one, God is not asking you to force rest. He is creating the conditions where rest can happen naturally. Alignment removes inner conflict, and conflict is what steals sleep. Tonight, rest is not about forgetting your problems. It's about trusting they are no longer in control. God is aligning you so rest becomes restoration, not escape. When you lay down tonight, you are not laying down in uncertainty. You are laying down in agreement. Agreement with peace, agreement with direction, agreement with protection you don't have to manage. Sleep becomes sacred when alignment is complete because nothing inside you is fighting anymore. So let your heart settle. Let your thoughts slow. Let alignment finish its work, because when the heart is at peace, sleep doesn't just refresh the body, it restores the future. Chosen one, understand this carefully. Tomorrow does not begin in the morning. It begins right now. Long before your eyes open, the direction of your next day is already being shaped by what your spirit carries into rest. That is why tonight matters more than it seems. God knows that what you decide internally before sleep determines how clearly you will see when you wake. The way you fall asleep sets the tone for the way you rise. If you carry fear into the night, it whispers into the morning. If you carry clarity, it becomes strength at dawn. Tonight is not just another ending. It is a quiet beginning forming beneath the surface. Have you noticed how God often prepares you before you realize preparation is happening? This moment is about awareness. Awareness changes posture. When you become aware of what needs to be released, forgiven, trusted, or accepted, your spirit stops wrestling in the dark. God is not asking you to solve anything tonight. He is asking you to understand something, and understanding always precedes peace. What realization has been gently settling into your heart lately? Tomorrow's clarity depends on tonight's agreement. Agreement with truth, agreement with direction, agreement with peace. When the heart agrees with God before rest, the mind no longer wakes up confused. Morning anxiety is often born from nighttime resistance. But when resistance dissolves, strength quietly takes its place. That is why God speaks now, not later. Think about it. How many mornings felt heavy because the night carried unresolved weight? God doesn't want you waking up already tired. He wants you waking up aligned. And alignment doesn't happen through effort. It happens through surrender. Tonight, surrender is not giving up. It is letting go of what no longer needs to be carried forward. Are you willing to leave some things here instead of bringing them with you into tomorrow? Morning strength is born in nighttime understanding. When you understand that you are guided, protected, and positioned, even when you don't see every detail, something inside you relaxes. That relaxation is not weakness, it is trust forming. And trust gives birth to courage when the day begins. Have you felt that subtle shift from tension to calm already happening? God knows that when you wake tomorrow, the world will ask things of you. Decisions, focus, movement. That is why He prepares you tonight, not with pressure, but with clarity. Clarity doesn't shout, it settles. It feels like quiet confidence rather than loud certainty. That is how you'll know it's real. Chosen one, tonight's decision doesn't need to be dramatic. It can be simple. Choosing peace over overthinking, trust over control, rest over resistance. Small decisions made in stillness create powerful momentum by morning. Tomorrow will feel different, not because circumstances changed, but because you did. So let tonight do its work. Let understanding land gently. Let awareness finish forming. Because when you wake, you won't wake confused. You'll wake steady. And that steadiness is the foundation God has been preparing all along. Chosen one, understand this with clarity and calm. This moment is not dramatic, but it is decisive. God is not interrupting your rest to frighten you. He is protecting what is about to unfold next. Protection does not always arrive as rescue. Sometimes it arrives as awareness. And tonight, awareness is the shield. God works in timing more than urgency. When He pauses you, it is not because danger is chasing you. It is because alignment is ahead. Missing this awareness would not bring punishment, but it could slow momentum that is already forming. God values your progress too much to let misunderstanding delay what is meant to move forward smoothly. Have you noticed how delays often come from confusion, not failure? This moment protects your rhythm. When timing is respected, movement feels natural instead of forced. God prepares you quietly so you don't have to struggle loudly tomorrow. That is why this message is gentle rather than alarming. Fear disrupts timing, peace preserves it. God wants you moving from clarity, not from reaction. Can you feel the difference between urgency and readiness? Attention now saves energy later. When awareness settles tonight, tomorrow does not begin with scrambling or second-guessing. Instead, it begins with confidence. Confidence doesn't mean having every answer. It means trusting the direction you've been given. God is not giving you more instructions. He is refining your perception. What you notice tonight determines how smoothly things flow next. Think about how often misalignment causes unnecessary effort. You work harder, not smarter. You push when patience would have carried you further. God steps in before that happens. This moment is Him saying, "Let me adjust this quietly so you don't have to correct it painfully later." Does that not feel like mercy rather than warning? Protection is subtle when God is involved. He doesn't announce what He prevents. He simply positions you differently so outcomes change without chaos. Tonight, positioning is happening inside you. Your thinking is slowing. Your spirit is settling. That calm is not accidental. It is preparation. When inner noise quiets, discernment sharpens. God prepares you quietly so you can move confidently tomorrow. That confidence will feel steady, not rushed. You won't need to convince yourself. You'll simply know when to move, when to pause, and when to trust the unfolding. That is divine timing at work. Not loud, not dramatic, but exact. So don't rush this moment. Let awareness complete its work. Let protection finish forming. Because when morning comes, you won't feel behind. You'll feel ready. And readiness is how God preserves momentum without strain. Chosen one, tonight matters not because something bad will happen, but because something good is already aligning. And this moment is quietly making sure you arrive there without delay.